everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kendra and today I'm going to be doing my February book buzz. This is a series that I do where I go over all the new releases that I'm interested in for the month, and I'll be giving a brief synopsis of each book or a tagline from the synopsis. And then I'll be going through all of these books in different categories. And the first category I'm going to go through are the romances. There are quite a bit because it is February, so there are quite a few to go through. The first book that I'm interested in is Dear Ava by Ilsa Madden Mills, and this one says it is about the rich and popular sharks rule at a prestigious ivy-covered Camden prep. Once upon a time, I wanted to be part of their world until they destroyed me. And this one says it is a enemies to lovers, secret admirer high school romance. Usually I'm not into high school romances. However, I have read something by this author and I did like it before, so I'm really excited to read this one. The next one is Just One Year by Penelope Ward, and the synopsis on this one says, the beginning of my sophomore year in college was off to a rough start. On the first day of orientation, I had an altercation with an infuriating British dude in my campus bathroom. The ladies' room was out of order, so I had to use the men's room. I got home later that night and realized that the foreign student that we were expecting to rent a room in my parents' house was allergic to our cat. So the spare room went to someone else, Caleb, the British guy from the men's room, and so it began. My love-hate story with Caleb, or was it hate to love in that order? So this one sounds really fun. I haven't read a college romance in a while and I love enemies to lovers, so this one definitely sounds right up my alley. The next one is Then You Happen by Kay Bromberg, and this one says it is about twisting fate and finding yourself again. Jack Sutton was a man I didn't want to need. His know-it-all attitude, his annoying suggestions, his outlook on life, he was determined to help me while I had resolved to figure it out all on my own. But he taught me things I'd forgotten. How to trust, how to believe in myself. Who was I? The problem. I went and fell in love with him. This one definitely sounds really good. I haven't read anything by Kay Bromberg, but I have heard great things about her, so I'm definitely excited to read this one. The next one is Keeper by Harlow Ray, and this one says, will you help me remember? That's the second thing I asked the stranger hovering just outside of my hospital room. To me, Decker Frederick is another nameless face in the crowd. To him, I'm a forgotten girl he hasn't seen in years. But he agrees to be my crutch through the fog as if we were once friends. This one I haven't heard much about, but I keep seeing some things on Instagram about it, and the cover is really intriguing, so I'm definitely excited to check this one out. The next one is Teacher I Want to Date by Mia Kayla, and all I know about this one is that it is a teacher's student's uncle romance. This one definitely sounds really fun and I cannot wait to read this one. The next one is My Besties Ex by Piper Rain, and this one says, too bad I didn't know who he was before I fell because he can't be mine. So this one definitely sounds really interesting because obviously it looks like she's falling for her best friend's ex, and you know, in girl code that's not okay, so this one definitely sounds fun and I cannot wait to read it. The next one is The Wrong Right Man by Aurora Rose Reynolds, and this one says, waking up to a text asking why you stood up your blind date is not the best way to start the day, especially when the man in question is lying in bed next to you. This one definitely sounds really good and I can't wait to read it. The next one is Hate You Not by Ella James, and this one says, a woman's sister just died and in her will she gets her niece and nephew. Then they move to her small town farm in Georgia, and then the kids' dad's brother comes into the picture to take the kids away from her because she's living on a farm that is half a breath away from foreclosure, and she's 26 who didn't finish high school. So this one, I'm assuming they have a relationship, and it definitely sounds really good. And this one I'm super excited for. It is Great and Precious Things by Rebecca Yarros, and the synopsis on this one says, how do you define yourself when others have already decided who you are? 60 years ago, when Camden Daniels came back from war without his younger brother, no one in the small town of Alba, Colorado would forgive him, especially his father. He left swearing never to return, but a desperate message from his father brings it all back. The betrayal, the pain, and the need to go home again. But home is where the one person he still loves is waiting, Willow, the one woman he can never have, because there are secrets buried in Alba that are best left in the dark. I'm like I said, so excited to read this one. I read Rebecca Yarrow's The Last Letter last year, absolutely loved it, one of my favorite books of 2019, and I'm so excited to read this one as soon as it comes out. The next one is Dr. Dearest by R.S. Gray, and all I know about this one is that it is a brother's best friend medical romance. I recently read Hotshot Doc by R.S. Gray, absolutely loved it, so I'm definitely excited to read this one. The next one is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa, and this one is a sassy, steamy, enemies to lovers romantic comedy about a woman whose new job requires her to work side by side with the best man who ruined her wedding. Her ex-fiance's infuriating, irritating, annoying, handsome brother. So this one definitely sounds really fun, and I cannot wait to read this one. The next one is The Lying Game by K.A. Lindy, and the synopsis on this one says, 6 years ago, Sam and I were on top of the world. We won the campaign, our dreams were in sight, most importantly, we had each other. Then he lied and it all fell apart. And this is a second chance office romance, and it's set around politics, which I'm really not a fan of, but this one just sounds really good and I cannot wait to read it. The next one is The Dare by Lauren Landish, and this one says, have you ever had one of those bad days at work? You know, one where your hot boss catches you photographing your backside in his office? No, just me then. She falls for her dark, tall, and handsome boss with a British accent. And obviously this is a office romance, and I cannot wait to read this one. The next one is Wild at Heart by K.A. Tucker. This is the second book in the Wild series, and this is the continuation of Calla's journey to Alaska and a life she never imagined for herself. I have heard really mixed things about this one, and I'm really scared to read it. However, I loved The Simple Wild so much. It was another one of my favorite books of 2019. So I'm not sure if I'll be reading this one soon or not, or maybe y'all can convince me to read it because it is great. But I love The Simple Wild, and I just don't want to ruin how much I love that book. The next one is Trouble by Adriana Locke. This is the third book in the Dogwood Lane series. And the synopsis on this one says, she wants something real, he wants something now, together they're trouble. This is definitely a series that I want to start, so hopefully I will be able to start this one really soon. The next book that I want to talk about is Breathless by Lex Martin. This is the third book in the Texas Nights series, and the synopsis on this one says, the boy next door has always made her breathless. I wouldn't say I run away exactly. 22 is too old for that. I'll call it self-preservation. I have one objective, protect my heart from the boy next door who has no clue I've loved him my whole life, even with a front row seat to his revolving bedroom door. I've heard really great things about the first book in the series, so I definitely want to start with that one, and hopefully I can get to this one sometime this year. The next one is That Secret Crush by Megan Quinn, and this is the third book in the Getting Lucky series. And the synopsis on this one says, it is a story about breaking curses and laying your heart on the line. What happens when your secret crush isn't so secret anymore? I've had feelings for Eve Roberts for as long as I can remember, but because she also happens to be the twin sister of my best friend Eric, I've never acted on the feelings and long ago resigned myself to keeping my crush under wraps. So I'm really excited to read this one. I have the first two books in this series that I hauled, I think last month, so hopefully I can get to this series really soon. The next book that I want to talk about is The Guy in the Middle by Kate Stewart. This is the third book in the Underdog series, and the synopsis on this one says, for all of my planning and hard work, I never anticipated falling for the coach's daughter. Harper was a fair catch, but who knew loving her could be the one play to throw my career before it started, or that the weight of her secret would change the game. This one definitely sounds really good. I have the first book in the series checked out from Kindle Unlimited, and I'm hoping to read that one in the next couple months, so hopefully I can get to this one sometime soon. The next book I'm going to talk about is Unbreakable by Melanie Harlow. This is the fourth book in a Cloverleaf Farms series. The synopsis on this one says, in hindsight, I should have had that fifth mimosa at breakfast with Santa, or the 6th, 7th, and 8th. But my shame over the public meltdown that resulted was nothing compared to being abandoned by my husband of 15 years for a much younger woman. And did I mention she's pregnant? So I have the first book in this series also checked out from Kindle Unlimited, and I'm hoping to read that one as well really soon. So hopefully I can get to this one in the next year. I'm hoping, but I've heard amazing things about this series, so I'm definitely excited to read the first book. The next book is Beautifully Broken Control by Catherine Cowles, and this is the 4th book in the Sutter Lake series, and this one is about a woman trying to rebuild her life, a man haunted by a past he can't forget, but with pasts like theirs, you never know when darkness might descend. I've heard amazing things about the first book in this series, and I believe it was actually free to download on Kindle not too long ago, so I definitely downloaded it, so hopefully I can read that one soon, and hopefully I love this series as much as everyone else. The next book that I want to talk about is Don't Let Me Go by Tegan Hunter. This is the 3rd book in the Slice series, and the synopsis on this one says, "It was just supposed to be one night, no kissing, no feelings, a wham bam, thank you ma'am, tangle in the sheets, and we go on our ways. Only as a small town, I was bound to run into the irresistible Porter Jones again. I just didn't expect it to be my job interview," which he's conducting. Now the live-in nanny to his adorable 7-year-old daughter, I'm doing my best to avoid falling for his charms. I've read the first book in this series, A Pizza in My Heart. Absolutely loved it. It was really good and really funny, so I'm definitely excited to read this one, and I'm really excited because this is a single dad nanny romance, and it just sounds so good. And the last book in the romance category is Rock Bottom by Emily Goodwin, and this is the 6th book in a Dawson family series, and the synopsis on this one says, Roy's life is a mess. After getting dumped by her boyfriend, let go from her job and losing her apartment, she takes a chance on a new job in a new town. Things can't get any worse, right? After dodging what could possibly be the world's worst blind date, Rory finds herself face to face with Dean, a temptation she knows she should avoid. It's just one night, and there's no harm in having a little fun. This one definitely sounds really good, and I love series that are based around families, so I definitely want to check out the first book in the series and see if I actually want to continue on, but this one definitely sounds really good. The next category I'm going to talk about is the adult contemporary, and the first one is The Antidote for Everything by Kimberly Martin, and this one is about 2 doctors that travel a surprising path when they must choose between treating their patients and keeping their jobs. I really love books that are set around the medical field, and I'm definitely excited to check this one out. The next book is Minor Dramas and Other Catastrophes by Kathleen West, and the synopsis on this one says, the privileged bubble that is Liston Heights High, the micromanaging parents, overworked teachers, and the students caught in the middle, and the fallout for each of them when the bubble finally burst. And this one reminds me a little bit of Big Little Lies, so I'm definitely excited to check this one out. Now I'm going to go through all of the thrillers that I'm interested in. The first one is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James, and the synopsis on this one says, the secrets lurking in a rundown roadside motel ensnare a young woman just as they did her aunt 35 years before. And this is a atmospheric suspense novel. I love atmospheric thrillers, and I also love The Broken Girls by Simone St. James, so I'm definitely excited to read this one. The next book is Thief River Falls by Brian Freeman, and the synopsis on this one says, Lisa Power is a tortured ghost of her former self. The author of a best-selling thriller called Thief River Falls, named after her rural Minnesota hometown, Lisa is secluded in her remote house as she struggles with the loss of her entire family, a series of tragedies she calls the Dark Star. This one definitely sounds kind of intriguing. It kind of has a paranormal aspect, I think, to it, so I'm definitely excited to check this one out. The next one is When I Was You by Minka Kent. The tagline on this one says, a stolen identity leads a woman down a dark and desperate path. And this one definitely sounds intriguing, and I can't wait to read this one. The next one is The Other Misses by Mary Kabika, and the tagline on this one says, she tried to run, but she can't escape the other misses. This one definitely sounds really good, and I cannot wait to read this one. And the next one is Saint X by Alexis Skankin. I think that's how you say it. But the synopsis on this one says, Claire is only 7 years old when her college-age sister, Allison, disappears on the last night of their family vacation at a resort on the Caribbean island of Saint X. Several days later, Allison's body is found in a remote spot, and 2 local men, employees at the resort, are arrested. But the evidence is slim and the timeline against it, and the men are soon released. The story turns into a national tabloid news, a lurid mystery that will go unsolved. This one definitely sounds really good. I cannot wait to read this one. It has given me definitely like true crime vibes, and I love true crime, so yeah, cannot wait to read this one. The next one is Behind Every Lie by Christina McDonald, and the tagline on this one says, "If you can't remember it, how do you prove you didn't do it?" I've heard amazing things about this book, and I cannot wait to read it. The next one is The Lucky One by Lori Raider Day, and this is about a woman who recognizes the man who kidnapped her as a child, setting off a search for justice and into danger. This one sounds really good, and I cannot wait to read this one. The next one is No Bad Deed by Heather Chavez, and this one is about a woman desperate to find the connections between her missing husband and a deadly stalker who knows too much about her own dark family history. And this one definitely sounds like it's going to be really good. Next, I'm going to go over the historical fiction, and the first one is Things in Jars by Jess Kidd, and the synopsis on this one says, in the dark underbelly of Victorian London, a formidable female sleuth is pulled into the world of anatomicists and crooked surgeons while investigating the kidnapping of an extraordinary child in this gothic mystery. This one definitely sounds really, really intriguing, and I'm definitely curious in reading this one. I did pick this one as one of my book of the month selections, so hopefully I get to this one really soon. The next one is The Light After the War by Anita Abril, and this is inspired by a true story of two Jewish friends who survived the Holocaust. This sweeping novel of love and friendship spans World War II from Budapest to Austria and the post-war. I've also seen this one a lot on Instagram, so I'm definitely excited to read this one. And now I'm going to go through the YA fantasy that I'm interested in. The first one is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace, and this is set in a kingdom where danger lurks beneath the sea, mermaids seek vengeance with song, and magic is a choice. And this one definitely sounds like it's going to be really good, and I cannot wait to read this one. And the last book that I have to share with you is The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller, and this is about Alessandria. She is tired of being overlooked, but she has a plan to gain power. 1. Woo the Shadow King. 2. Marry him. And 3. Kill him and take his kingdom for herself. This one sounds really good, and hopefully I can read this one soon. Well, those are all the books that I'm interested in that come out in February. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in any of these books or if you've read any of them. And until then, I will see you in my next video. Bye!